Now, it is going to take us into the plugin. Now, this is kind of like Grand Central Station for Amtrak in Chicago. I did take this photograph as a RAW, obviously because I'm here in the RAW plugin, but it does need some work done to it, needs some help. A few of the things that we could do, for example, is I don't believe the white balance of this image is really what it's supposed to be. I mean, it looks kind of bluish, kind of cool, but I want it to be more accurate. Now, I got two ways I could try this out. I do have the eyedropper up here. And if you can click on something neutral, basically it will correct the color. Or if you know what the color temperature is. Now, that's sunlight streaming through there. If you come over here under white balance, now we're in basic. If you don't see those options over there, you might be on a different tool. If you're on the zoom tool or the hand tool, for example, you're going to see them. Over here, white balance, as shot. So I had an incorrect setting on the camera, but I do know it's daylight. Gives it a nice warm tone, but that's accurate. I like that. And you're watching the histogram up here and making sure you don't mess up there either. Now, you do have a tint option here once you do the color temperature. So if you get the temperature correct, but you'd like to cool it down just a little or warm it up just a little, you can change it here. Cool it or warm it up. It's up to you. Now, down here, we have exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, clarity. I like clarity. That's a fun one to work with. Vibrance and saturation. Now, in exposure, you're changing the exposure of the image almost as if you did it with the camera. It's a very nonlinear thing. And if I come over here and say, well, I do need to kind of darken these areas up, don't I? So I need to change my exposure. And if I come in here and basically do this, well, I am helping that area, I guess. But the problem with that is it looks pretty blown out to me. Now, here's something to check out. See these two little buttons up here? These buttons will mask areas of the image that are blown out. By blown out, total black, no detail, total white. If I come over here and click those and turn them on, all of those areas are defined as blown out areas. Now, I can work down here now and watch that and see if I can help them. But in doing so, I'm really making other areas dark. And look at my histogram. I'm pushing everything over to the left. And in doing so, I'm losing some dynamic range. So there are times where, at least the way we're doing it right now, it's kind of hard to get everything to do exactly what you want it to do. But that's exposure. Contrast does exactly what you think it's going to do. You go this way with it, it flattens it out, makes it dull. Go this way, it gives you more contrast if you want to use that. Now, if I come over here, I can do the same thing by dragging on those names. And sometimes that's a little bit easier, I think, to work with. Or if you can never get the number you want, because I never can, you can type the number in right here. Or if you are in that area and you use your up and down arrow keys, you can actually control it that way too. Lots of different ways you can do it. Highlights is exactly what you think it is. It controls just the highlight area. So we might get something going over here with highlights. And if we come over here and move that, as you can see, we can maybe get rid of those red areas, meaning that we're getting some detail, but we're not really impacting any more of this area over here. Now, I also find something else as I work. I usually start at the top and work my way down. However, as I go to the next one down, a lot of times I find myself going back up and making another change because what I did downstairs impacts what is now going on upstairs. So you might go back and change exposure again or something else. Whites works just with the blown white areas. And again, you can see it's very subtle, but we can, bring back in more of the blown out areas or maybe try to fix them. But I'm keeping my eyes more on that histogram to see what I'm doing up there. Blacks does the same thing with the black areas. Now you can see some of the blown out areas in black. They're in blue. Now, one of my favorites to kind of have fun and work with is clarity. Easiest way to look at it is take it in both directions. If you take it this way all the way, it really softens the clarity of the image. So it gives it more of a softer look. If you go all the way the other way, it kind of over-clarifies it. Let's put it that way. Let's turn off these so we can see what we have. Now, I like that, but not that much. I'm going to put it right about there. Vibrance is another one I like. Vibrance is not the saturation of the color. So actually, let's start there because that's easier to understand. If I come over here and go this way, I've got a grayscale image. If I go this way, I supersaturate the colors, making them all pure and get into something that's rather intense. I'm going to take that down to just about somewhere around 1920, give it a little bit more. Vibrance then is not the saturation of the color, it's the vibrance, the brilliancy of the colors. And if I go this way, you'll notice I still have color. If I go this way, they get more brilliant, more vibrant. Now again, that's a little bit too much. Anytime you want to see the original, you can turn off the preview right here. And that's what we started with, and that's now what we have. Now, we could have done a lot of these things directly in Photoshop Elements. Not all of them, but we could have done some of them. But the beauty of being here, remember, is everything in Camera Raw is non-destructive. There's nothing you can do here that's going to hurt this image, and we can always come back and make changes later. Now, let's say we like what we have, but we don't want to go into Photoshop Elements yet. So we click Done down here. And there you go. We've got one image down and a couple more to go.